All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Soft Elbows. We have not one, but two special guests today. We have Kevin Pei. Kevin, how are you?
Doing great, Stephen.
Great. And we have Abby and our second special guest, Abby's new elbow, the little elbow that could.
The little
Abby,
elbow that
show the
could.
people our second guest.
um, Trigger warning because I think it's gross.
Oh
Here she
my God, it's
is.
hideous, but it's straighter than before.
It is straighter than before. I haven't done my exercises yet today, so like it does get straighter. Believe it or not, we are 1 week post-op, and like I'm floored as to like what I can do with this thing already. And yeah, a lot of people maybe treat me like I'm fragile, but I am painfully independent and I will not stop working this elbow until it is straight.
Great. Um, we are no, that sounded more sarcastic than we have not unless you guys are aware of something I'm not. We don't have much new news. The weightlifting world is waiting with bated breath for a breakdown of how your surgery went, and I think we should start there.
Okay, great. Sounds good to me. So my surgery, believe it or not, was much more uneventful than my pre-op physical was, where I passed out in the chair because they took my blood. I didn't know that going into it. I didn't realize they were going to draw my blood, but they did, and that was not a good time. But no, the entire team at MedStar was awesome, from start to finish. Like, it was. I mean, the whole thing was seamless, and like there was never a moment where I was like, what's going to happen? Like my anxiety was at bay the entire day. And the last thing that I remember before I went under, um they put the oxygen mask on my face, and I didn't like that. It did scare me a bit. So I like looked at my nurse. Her name is Eleanor. She's wonderful. I was like, "Will you please hold my hand?" And like I just remember like holding her hand, and then I was waking up. Like that was it. So,
So to
yeah.
review, not fragile, but also afraid of plastic.
Sensitive.
Okay,
Sensitive is the
sensitive to
term.
plastic. Sensitive to
Not
plastic.
fragile, but I
No,
am sensitive.
sensitive to plastic. Okay, got it.
Just
Um,
sensitive, period.
oh, just in general. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
in
all
general,
right.
yeah.
Kevin,
But independent, sensitive but independent, Steve. Don't forget about
yes,
that,
Yes,
of
right?
course,
I
of
am.
course.
I am very
And
independent. It was it's weird too because like there was definitely a limit to my independence the first few days. That first weekend was rough. Like things that I just couldn't do with my left arm, like taking a shower, shampoo. I've got long hair. Shampooing my hair was really difficult. And when I showered, like I had to wear, they gave me a bunch of umbrella bags to put over my arm. My mom was calling them arm condoms. um so
shout out to Abby's mom.
yeah, shout out to Sue. She's funny, which is where I get it. Yeah. And then you should have seen me. So they gave me a bunch of prescriptions for afterwards, like aspirin and stuff and some other stuff. But you should have seen me trying to get them like the caps off with one hand. Like they don't really think that through. Like they child-proofed the medications, and I'm like, I don't know how to get this off with one hand. I ended up like knifing my way through it, which don't advise, but it was what I did at the time. Um, yeah, and shout out to everybody who brought me snacks. I would specifically like to shout out Carla from DC Barbell Club. She not only chauffeured me to and from surgery, but she made sure I had breakfast and soup for several days. Hannah Gilmore, I've shouted out a million times. She made me cookies, which I ate the entire pan when I woke up from surgery. They were so good. And then my friends Janice and Bobby down at PR Barbell sent me lunch over the weekend too, and they absolutely did not have to do that. And it was so nice, and I just wanted to make sure I shouted them all out because, I mean, I, I, it's not that I don't know that I have a support system, and I'm sorry for monologuing. I know I'm monologuing a little bit.
We asked for it.
It's not that I don't know that I'm very blessed that I have a great support system around me, and like I'm surrounded by good people all the time, and I never take that for granted because you never know when that isn't the case. But it's really moments like that where like they show up, and it just reinforces that like I'm definitely around the right people all the time now, and I'm very, very, very grateful to be able to say that.
And me. You are around the right people and
And
me.
Steve.
Sometimes I feel like you
Well,
leave me out when you talk about everybody that's around you.
okay, sorry, Steve. Steve is also around me, and
And the
I
right
did.
people and
And
Steve.
Steve. And Steve texted me while I dead to the world. And I did wake up and text him back. I don't remember texting him back, but I did see that I texted him back. There's
All
actually
right.
a good hour that I don't remember. And I know I made several phone calls that I have no recollection of those conversations. And no one's yelled at me yet for anything I've said. So I must not have been too bad, but I don't remember making those phone calls or anything we talked about.
Love that. The rest of us, me and everyone else you communicated with, we actually have a side chat, and we've decided that we're going to hold on to that content probably for several years until you've forgotten that this even happened. And then at the most inconvenient moment possible for you, perhaps your wedding, it's hard to say. We haven't figured it out yet.
You're
We're
gonna
just going
embarrass
to
me.
create a montage of all of the things that you texted and said to us in these communications.
My favorite text thread that I found was with my mentor at work. I work in finance for everyone that's not aware. And so like I do a great deal with the market and with interest rates and stuff. He asked me how long I was in the hospital. I responded back with a really gross selfie. And I said, ask me about interest rates. And then he like sent a bunch of laughing emojis back. And I said, no, seriously, did you know that discount points are tax deductible on your next year tax returns? So um, he can't say that the information he feeds me doesn't stick, but it was really, really funny to find the next day.
Okay. I have a couple more questions for you, but before
Yeah.
we do that, Kevin, have you ever had like a major procedure or major surgery, like anything that you've had to like come back from?
I had a broken nose, like maybe like 5, 10 years ago, and I
How
remember
did we
counting
get
down.
there?
What did the other what did the other guy look like at the end of that?
Oh, he had an elbow with some of my blood on it. It was during a
Oh,
soccer game.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, yeah. And I
So he got the
remember,
worst of it. Good.
Yeah.
yeah. But I remember counting down from 5 and getting to 3, and then my nose
Nice.
was very swollen the next day. I was not allowed to have phone access or internet access afterwards, so the montage. Sorry, Steve, you're missing out on that. I don't have one out there that I know of, but
Kevin, you
how
can't
was
just
that?
not tell the story of how you got popped in the nose.
It was a friendly yet aggressive game of soccer. Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah. I wish I had a better story than that, like, fighting off street thugs or something like that. But no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or getting in a fight with a blender. You should see the
Listen,
blender.
we're in the entertainment business, Kevin. I need you to just start making
Be
stuff
more
up. Like,
entertaining.
we got people who expect a high quality product here,
And by people, he means his mom.
and your friend who just
And
moved back
Dan.
here.
And my friend Dan. Shout out to Dan,
Hi,
DC's
Dan.
newest neighbor.
Abby, so Abby, what are the next like couple of weeks, couple of months like? What does the rehab process look like for you?
I'm glad you asked. I've been getting this question a lot. And the short answer is I don't know. The longer version of that answer is I got very lucky with my surgeon. Dr. Hoffman is wonderful. Like he's a team physician with USA Wrestling. He specializes in elbows and shoulders. Like the guy was the shit. And I got very lucky with him, not just because of his expertise in all of that, bless you, but because he's an athlete and he understands that I'm an athlete and that something that I'm very passionate about has been taken away from me, right? And so before the surgery, he came into my room and he sat down next to me and like he was very casual with me, which made me feel a lot better. And he was like, look, Abby, like I'm gonna remove as much as I can from your elbow. I'm not holding myself to any like timing constraints or anything. Like I'm here to get what I can and I'm not going to stop till we're done. And then your recovery is going to look like whatever you make of it. He's like, I'm going to be as aggressive as you want to be. My goal is to get you into like your hands on a barbell as quickly as possible. So I interpreted that as he's not going to give me a timeline, but we are going to do frequent check-ins to see where we're at. And I feel very confident that the 6 to 12 weeks that I had originally expected is probably going to end up being shorter. And I also am very lucky because, I was having a hell of a time getting myself set up for PT. And Dr. Hoffman once again stepped up to bat for me and, found me a slot and was like, look, you're going to have to drive a little bit, but get your eval done and then we can transfer you to the one by your apartment. And the doctor that I worked with at PT, Dr. I forgot his name and I'm kind of a dick for that. But he was Dr. Cameron.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, shout out to Cameron. I mean, same thing. Lacrosse player, like he gets athletes. He is an athlete. Like he understands that I'm in a shit position. I'm not your typical 70-year-old decrepit person who is going to be a huge baby. He doesn't treat me like it. Not yet. He doesn't treat me like I'm fragile, and he's like, you need, like, we're going to be as aggressive as we can. And so the team that I'm with, like, we all are working towards that same goal of get Abby with a barbell again. And like, again, I'm a week post-op and like I was holding a water bottle like this. And my elbow, I know it doesn't look great now, but it was straight. I haven't seen my elbow anywhere remotely close to straight in 2 years at least. And so to be able to like do that a week post-op, like I cried a little bit. Like I was very emotional. Like I'm surrounded by the right team, and that was a glimpse of like, you made the right decision, you're doing the right thing, keep doing the right things, and trust the people around you.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
And while whatever that time range ends up being, you're not just going to like disappear from the weightlifting scene, right? My understanding is that you were a big hit on the mic. You've got requests for future dates to be on the mic. Is that right for USA Weightlifting?
Yeah, JP came back and was like, hey, we got very good reviews about you. And I was like, oh, okay, weird, but all right.
Your past couple of weeks have just been full of surprising news. Like
very surprising news, right? Yeah, so USAW has asked me to come back, which, thank you to USAW, thank you JP and Pedro, powers that be, blah, blah, blah. I don't know when I'm going to be hopping back on the mic. Truth be told, Nationals Week, from a logistical standpoint, might be a little difficult for me to make it out to, but no, I will be around. I'll be at Spring Fling to help out. I think Emma's putting me on the mic there too. Yeah, and I'll be various places. I'll be at Cap City, probably not on the mic, but I'll be there.
As we discussed the last time, I don't think it's a requirement for you to be in Colorado Springs for you to be on the mic for USAW. They're just going to stick you in a room anyway.
Yeah,
like you can
in the
do
green
this.
room. I'm going to pitch I'll pitch the idea to them. Which reminds me, I still need to finish filling out some paperwork so I can get paid for that. Yeah, I'll pitch them an idea and see if they run with it. We might have to strong arm JP into coming back on the show and just corner him into a commitment to like let me do it from here.
Sure.
Yeah.
As Kevin found out earlier today, I have no problem bullying people online. So,
wait, what did you do, Steve?
All right, so here's predictably how the setup to the show works. We're gonna take you guys behind the scenes. Every couple weeks, every 2 weeks, we find a guest. Today, our guest is lovely Kevin. But you could replace Kevin with Maria or any of our other previous guests, and we will get with those guests. We will say, hey, guest, your time is valuable to us. What time and date works best for you in this time frame? And they'll pick a time and a date. And I will say to Abby, this is the time and this is the date. Does this time and date work for you? And Abby will say, yes, sir. Oh, hold on. Yes, sir.
Yes,
that's what she'll say. Actually, no, you're really big into like the saluting emoji. So like,
I am. Thanks for noticing.
And then, to the surprise of no one, that date and time will come, and the clock will strike. In this case, 4 p.m. and then 4:01, and then sometimes 4:02, and we will say, "Is Abby okay? Is she in distress? Do we need to?" Like perhaps she was struck by I don't know
a flying ice cream truck or something, right?
Maybe she got enveloped by the cherry blossoms while she was out doing whatever today, and we will say, Abby, who'll reach out to her. In this case, Kevin proactively reach out to her. Abby, where are you today?
No. That is not how it happens.
As I said earlier, we're here for the entertainment, not for the facts. Like, just like this story's got a little creative license to it. All right, they're gonna like this way more than the actual.
Oh, okay. All right.
Kevin very caringly reached out and he said, "Abby, we're all concerned. Your family's on the phone. Your other friend, Dan, it's like Dan, me, and like your other friend. Like we've all reached out to Kevin and we're like, have you guys heard from Abby? She's supposed to be recording this show at 4. And so we reached out and Abby says, don't worry, guys. I'm sprinting into my apartment as we speak." And I thought it would be fun to point out that her sprint time, and I feel like I stand by this point. Her sprint time would have been better had she not been texting us that she was sprinting into her apartment. And apparently now I'm just an online bully. I don't know.
If the shoe fits, Steve, right? Like I call it how it is.
I feel like we've come up with the new poll for next week. Is Steve an online bully?
Oh, that's going to be the most used poll in the world.
It has to be anonymous, right? Otherwise, it's just a target list for Steve. You're just fielding that.
Make it not anonymous. Let's find out where the balls are coming from. That's fine.
No. The polls are semi-anonymous because I'm going to remind you all once again, I see your little usernames when you answer the poll and then when you send in your little question answers. I see that. I know. Just know that I know. I'm not going around telling people that it was you, but I know. Don't be a bully.
What if we did? All right, hear me out. What if we did a new segment? I think I've had this idea before, but I'll bring it up again because you'll shoot me down. It doesn't matter. You come up with the 5 most off the wall comments that you didn't post during the week. And then you just say what the person's name rhymes with, and that gives us plausible deniability. Who knows? Like, if you told us, like, this comment came from Chikel Moy, who's to say who Chikel Moy is? You know, like,
I've never met her. Yeah, I have no idea. What have you ever known? Yeah,
like, right? Like, total anonymity, and then we can just have fun at their expense.
Yep. You know what? I don't hate that. I didn't do a poll this week because I was depressed about my elbow, but I will likely do a poll next week, and we can consider your idea for the next podcast.
Thank you so much. You mentioned a couple of the upcoming events we have in this area. We're going to run through them very briefly. You mentioned Spring Fling. That is April 12th.
Yeah,
and we've got a couple of local lifters in there. Big Jake allegedly is going to show his face. You mentioned Emma. Is Emma going to be lifting or no?
No, Emma won't be lifting. She is prepping for nationals at this time, but she won't be lifting. She's running the show.
Running the show.
Yep.
Could she hook me up with like judges who are kind and forgiving? Because I'll also be down there throwing things around. The goal is to get the weights over my head, but like, it's who's to say?
I want to remind you that 5 minutes ago you were bullying me. So like, do I really want to help you out? No.
But I'm very forgivable. I don't know. All right. Outside of Spring Fling, we've got Cap City.
Yep.
End of April. Kevin.
Yep.
All right, guys. I don't know if you figured this out yet. I did a very terrible job of introducing Kevin at the beginning. He just like
hi.
He just like all right. We're gonna try this again. Our guest today.
20 minutes in.
Take it from the top. Sitting here. Our guest today is Kevin Pei. Kevin, you run day in day out training out of CrossFit Route 7. My understanding is you coach both CrossFit and weightlifters. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Kevin likes hip thrusts.
And he loves it. We're going to get into the hip thrust thing later because I still don't understand what you guys are talking about. But
okay, great.
There's a joke there, but everyone stay quiet. We're going to get into more about Kevin in a second, but I do want to know for any of the local competitions we have coming up, are any of your folks going to be in them?
Yeah, we have a few people competing at Cap City, so really excited for that. I haven't been to Cap City before, but obviously I've heard so much about it and I've seen it around everywhere. So
when you say you haven't been to Cap City before, are we talking like ever or just since they moved to Petworth?
Ever.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It is like the preeminent local weightlifting event in this area.
I know. Call me a slacker, Steve. I know.
I didn't want to
I need
say
to get
the
it
word.
together.
You said it.
I read between the lines. I get it.
I wanted to plant the seed so that I didn't have to say it, but I'm glad you did. We'll talk more about how you fail your athletes by not entering them into bigger competitions in a little bit. But God, the internet's going to come after me on this one, doesn't they? I feel like Kevin's popular on the internet. I feel like they're all like, you've got like an army, like it's like Taylor Swift.
He does have an army.
As far as like rabid internet following.
The Kevies.
The Kevies.
Side of that, okay. Yeah. We're all going to go to you, Steve. It's going to be targeted, okay? That's anonymous, supposedly.
Sure.
We'll know.
But before we get into more about Kevin and what a great coach is, and he is, I've seen it in person. He is
Steven.
Yeah, right. There's a couple of local events I wanted to shout out. We have Mach 10 coming up in Maryland. Yep. That's coming up. I think that's the weekend before spring fling. So that is like the one that's coming up the soonest. And we also, on the same weekend that Cap City is happening, Kara Slaughter and Anna Swisher are running a combo level 1, level 2 weightlifting coaching development course for women only, for female coaches only at CHFP in Alexandria. So I believe they've got pretty good sign-up numbers on that. But if for anybody who's interested, that is a great opportunity to get your level 1 and level 2 out of the way in a really short span. That opportunity, I believe, is pretty unique. I think that's maybe only 2 other things like that in this calendar year, and those are in other parts of the country. So good opportunity for folks to do that if you're not doing Cap City, and I very much encourage everyone to do Cap City because Abby will be there talking and things. No?
Probably mostly loading. I'm going to be helping out.
Abby, how are you going to load with one hand?
I will have 2 hands by then. God, don't underestimate me.
That's right.
Hey, sensitively independent, Steve. How dare you?
Thank you, Kevin.
Like loading all of the change plates. Abby Richards, everyone.
Yes. Okay. I will say I have like I don't want to say upgraded, but like I can do banded bicep curls now, and like I can put some weight on the elbow, which is like a big improvement already. So I'm stoked about that. But Steve is kind of right. Moving plates, not exactly something that's easy right now. Carrying med balls, yes. Carrying change plates, yes. Carrying my full water bottle up and down my hallway, yes. But I need help with big plates right now. But again, I've got time. I've got a month and a week, 5 weeks. Yeah, 5 weeks till Cap City.
Now 3. Till Cap City. Yes, I'm sorry. Till Cap City, 5 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 weeks till Cap City. I will be carrying plates by then, guarantee it. Anyone who wants to wager with me, let's do it.
I am people. Let's do it. What's the wager?
What is the wager?
It was your idea. Let's wager. I have no idea what we want to wager.
Coffee. You bring me all the coffee that my heart desires.
I think there should be some sort of public embarrassment component to this.
I mean,
just
go ahead. I see the idea on your face, Abby. Let's hear it. I hate this already. I regret this whole segment. Go ahead. What do you got, Abby?
I want you. Sorry, hang on. I'm so funny. Whew, all right, composed. She's composed. I want you to clean with straps.
Oh my God.
Clean with straps?
Do you want me to join you on the IR? Is that what you're saying? Like,
I'm kidding. No, I want all the coffee that I can drink. But that was funny. That was funny, right?
That was funny.
Thank you.
That was funny because cleaning with straps is stupid. What a great segue. And this is, Kevin, I don't know how fervently you listen to our show, but this is the new like litmus test for whether we just end the show now or continue talking to you. How do you feel about cleaning with straps?
Horrible idea.
Yes.
Idea. Unless you're a Korean weightlifter.
He gets to stay.
Wait, he's got more. Let him talk.
How do you go from like horrible idea to but like like
I think I've seen like 3 Korean weightlifters do it, and I mean they can clean like they're doing that for like 200, and I don't know if I have enough stopping power to even trump that, but I like my elbows and wrists where they are right now.
Oh, and are you suggesting that perhaps perhaps cleaning with straps is not a good way to keep your elbows and wrists where they are at their current time.
Perchance.
Oh, okay.
I will say though, like,
Oh, here we go.
no. Listen. You're gonna see me do it at some point. Specifically, it's probably gonna start with like rack holds because like I'm gonna have to work on this mobility somehow, right? And like, it probably won't be anything maximal for me, but like, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but like, it's probably going to be in my future. Like I'm already stretching with a strap to try and get this thing to like unlock. And like when I get back to barbell, like I will probably have to.
Have to is an interesting word, but anyway, along those lines, for everyone out there, we're looking for a new co-host for
Oh my
Soft
God.
Elbows. Abby's being fired, so I just hold on. Is it? Yeah, Brian. No, it's me.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. All right.
No, I told her she's fired. No, you look great, Brian. No, everyone thinks you're pretty. Okay, can we talk about this later? Okay, no, yes, I'll call you after the show, Brian. Okay, sorry. Anyway, Kevin, what are you doing every 2 weeks from now until forever? Because I need a new Soft Elbows co-host.
Not cleaning with straps, I can tell you that, Steven.
Love that. See?
He's hip thrusting. He's busy hip thrusting.
All right. Let's get into this. So, as I said, Kevin runs day in, day out training out of CrossFit Route 7. He coaches both CrossFit and weightlifting. He also is a lifter himself. I've seen it. You were at, go ahead, tell him about your most recent endeavors into competing and lifting absurd weights in front of lots of people. Go ahead.
Gosh, was that ladder lifting challenge?
Yeah, the ladder lifting
challenge. I had to think about that one. Yeah.
What's that?
I had to think about that one because I was like, Tough Tempo before that? Like, Tough Tempo was the most recent kind of true weightlifting event. But
yeah, but I mean,
that was where Kevin and I met, was at Tough Temple. You were like, hey, you're the person. And I was like, yeah, that's me.
Yes, I was talking about the ladder lifting challenge for anyone who wasn't there. Kevin put on a show for everybody. You went pretty deep into the spotlight ladder, yeah?
I think I finished with 325. So what is that, like 147 in European?
325, whatever. It's cool.
Kevin does speak in pounds, and it's kind of like his whole team does too. It's really funny. Like my conversations with them, like they're the only team.
Huh? Keep going.
What?
Keep going. Sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
Oh,
that
no.
you guys speak in pounds, and you're the only club that I know that like does both, but mostly pounds.
Who? That's a name drop. It depends on who you talk to.
I'm not a snitch.
Oh, you can't bring it up. Anyway, all right. We're gonna stay focused.
Yeah.
The whole thing with hip thrust is lost on me. So how did this start? What is the deal? It's a movement that can be helpful. There aren't straps involved, which I think is something in its favor.
Well, so the context of this was I dropped into CrossFit Route 7 a few weeks ago. My sister-in-law, her sister had a baby shower and it was on the way, and I was like, I want to go see my friends that day in, day out. And so Kevin so graciously hosted me and let me do some squat safety bars and some other accessories and stuff. And while we were training, like we got talking, we were like, what are some accessories that we think are like completely useless? And I don't think we landed on a useless one, but I definitely said that I don't like hip thrusts, and I think that there's a point of diminishing return. And Kevin was like, or I don't remember what you said in person, but like I forgot that it was me that said that. And I texted him the one time, either I had done hip thrusts or that's right. They were in my program, like hip glute bridges or whatever. And I texted him, I was like, just letting you know that I did the hip thrust at whoever said that they were useless. And Kevin was like, Abby, that was you.
Hey, no one's perfect. That's fine. It's okay. I can forgive. I won't forget. That's okay.
So now it's just this recurring joke that like I don't do my hip thrusts, and Kevin like really likes hip thrusts, which he does, and he has a very scientific explanation for it, which I'll let him speak to.
Oh, I do.
No, you had a good logical reasoning that you were like, no, I like them for these reasons.
I had a lot of knee issues in the past, and my hips and my low back have all been kind of gunked up over the years. And when I started doing hip thrusts, I don't know. I know it's pretty controversial. I do know a lot of people who absolutely hate them. I think I might be in the minority of people who swear by them, but as an accessory movement, I think it's just phenomenal for just protecting the knees, hips, and low back. Like I'd rather do hip thrusts than deadlifts like 9 times out of 10. Personally.
Really?
Yeah.
From a preventative like health standpoint or from a strength building standpoint?
Maybe a little bit of both. Like for example, a lot of the people that I program for individually, they don't do deadlifts. I think for a GPP like CrossFit class standpoint, deadlifts are great, right?
Okay.
But for people who maybe are trying to compete at the next level, whatever that means to them, I don't know if the deadlift is always like the return is always worth it, to be honest.
So
you got to tell me more on this. I'm fascinated by this take. I genuinely like I've not heard that before, so I want to hear more about why you like what your thought process is there.
So I guess, are you more curious about like the weightlifting side of things, the CrossFit side of things, or just in general?
Both. I mean, we got time. This is our show. We can talk
also
until whenever. We've got
like
Abby
my
here.
question. Yeah. And then my question to that too is like, okay, so you prefer these to deadlifts. How much pull volume do you have then, like clean pulls and snatch pulls?
I think it depends on the person. It really depends on the person and what their limitations are. I think I tend to lean towards like doing pulls, doing high pulls so you can actually accelerate versus deadlifting, 110, 120% of your max if you're not even going to get ever close to that. Like I'd rather you lift with speed personally. But flipping the question real quick, like do you two do a lot of deadlifts in your own programming? I guess like what is the traditional weightlifting opinion of that? Like I have my own, but I'm kind of curious about yours first.
Well, so I both do and program 1 day a week of heavy posterior chain work, and that is often either a snatch deadlift, a snatch RDL off of an elevation, or a clean deadlift, something like that. And the point for me, I mean, I would think, and I agree with you that like most people aren't going to ever like come close to cleaning or snatching their max clean or snatch deadlift. But to me, that's not the point. The point for me is if I can get them lifting heavier weights off the ground, that's going to enable them to move quicker when they're trying to snatch a much lighter weight, or sorry, to move a much lighter weight off the ground, whether that's in the snatch or in the clean. If my max clean is 130 and I can deadlift 180, 130 is probably moving slower off the ground than if I can clean deadlift 200 kilos or 250 kilos. I bet I can move 130 off the ground faster. And the same with the snatch, right? Like if I can snatch deadlift 120 kilos and my max snatch is 80 kilos, 80 is probably going to move relatively slow off the ground than if I can snatch deadlift 180 kilos. I'll bet you 80 kilos, like snatching it off the ground, it's going to move a little quicker because I can apply more force into the ground. So yeah, like I'm my max snatch deadlift is, let's hypothetically say my max snatch deadlift is 180. I'm never going to snatch 180. Like I'm never going to come close to that. But if I can push that number up, my ability to move significantly lighter weights off the ground is going to improve and increase.
That's kind of the understanding that I've had too. Like keep in mind everything that comes out of my mouth, like I don't have a certification for any of this stuff, and like this is all just stuff that I've picked up, and I'm talking to my experiences. But like I tend to agree with what Steve just said, and also like with my coach, when he programs deadlifts, it's never just a straight up deadlift, right? It's not like you walk into a power build or a Tyson's playground and you see, jabronis with the broccoli hair deadlifting. You see you're pausing off the floor, you're pausing at the knee, you're pausing at the hip. It's pausing and hitting positions, holding the weight, building strength in those positions. Or it's from a deadlift to, like Steve's point, I'm going to move 80 kilos off the ground faster if I've moved 80 kilos 4 inches more, or however many kilos off the ground. So like, I think the deadlift is great for building strength as long as you're hitting the right positions. I don't think there's a point to to Kevin's point, I don't think there's a point to deadlifting 200 kilos if you look like shit and your technique is all over the place and you're not hitting the correct positions. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it, just based on how my coach programs for me.
But Kevin, I mean, you wouldn't continue to do it if it wasn't effective. So how have you noticed, like, what has been the impact of the way that you kind of use hip thrusts and other type of accessory movements in place of, if that's I don't want to put words in your mouth, in place of the deadlift, part of the program?
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, like my take on deadlift is I don't want to completely discount it. Number one, I think pulls in general, to your point, especially Abby's point, the positional work, massive benefit, right? But I think maybe using myself or anybody as an example, right? Let's just say your conventional deadlift, right, is 200 kilos and your max clean is 120. For me personally, as a coach, I'd rather you either working clean pulls specifically, or honestly bumping up your front squat. Right? Like if your max deadlift, if you keep training that and it goes from 200 to 210 to 220 for crying out loud, but your clean stays exactly the same, I don't know if that's the best use of time, frankly. Right. And
yeah, I see Kevin's point there, because like at that point, is the pull really the problem, or is there something else going on? I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's typically my take. I think from a pulling volume standpoint, I think my athletes get enough from other areas that I just don't really feel the need to deadlift that much. But from a CrossFit, like general physical preparedness perspective, right? Somebody comes in, they want to work out for an hour, deadlift is great. Like picking things off the floor, fantastic. Does that answer the question kind of, Steve, from the deadlift standpoint? Like, yeah. But I know like snatch deadlift is great. Snatch RDLs are great. I like a lot of like pause work, a lot of like lower hang work, like a few inches off the ground. I love doing that. But it just really depends on the athlete.
So I want to, because you kind of have to like bifurcate in your mind, like you're programming, right? Because you're programming for weightlifters here in CrossFit or CrossFitters, in the same vein. And I imagine that the position that you're in is probably similar to a lot of the other coaches that we have in our area, who like we've got a handful of folks who are exclusively weightlifting coaches. But I think most folks who pick your gym probably have to do some of both. So what has your experience been programming for the two, and in what ways has your concepts of what each needs evolved?
Thanks, Steve. That's a good question. So basically, like, what is my approach to balancing the needs of kind of both populations? In a sense. Yeah, I think I'll give CrossFit as a training methodology. I'll give them credit for bringing in a lot of people into the sport of weightlifting. Right, there are so many weightlifters out there that have started in CrossFit. Like Maddie Rogers is a great example. Right, so I think it introduces people to the lift, and then I think there are certain aspects of the strength training component that people tend to gravitate towards more at the end of the day. From the balance perspective, I have some athletes that like to do maybe primarily weightlifting and just a smidge of conditioning here and there. Maybe they like to hop into class back and forth. But for me, the balance just revolves around honestly just recovery, right? Like, and making sure that they are honestly prioritizing technique more than anything. And I think a common theme that I see with a lot of CrossFitters who maybe do weightlifting workouts, or maybe they want to do weightlifting competition, or just want to get into that realm, is that they don't rest between sets. They don't rest between sets. And I think the form is sometimes sacrificed just for the sake of quantity or weight, honestly. So sometimes that mind shift and saying, hey, let's take a step back. Let's use hook grip in a lot of cases. Number one, let's fix that. Let's fix some of the fundamental foundational things. And then, we can kind of move forward depending on what those goals are. Because I have a lot of people come to me where they just want to improve their weightlifting to actually help their CrossFit, right? And then I have other people who want to maybe compete in their first weightlifting meet, or just learn more about the sport in general.
When you mentioned when CrossFitters try out weightlifting, they don't rest enough in between sets, in between training sessions, whatever. I'm curious your experience the other way around, though. Like when you have, whether it's in a quote unquote off season, or they want to take a break from weightlifting, and you've got weightlifters who want to delve into CrossFit. What are the equivalent eccentricities you see when weightlifters kind of go into the other side and try out CrossFit for a little bit?
I think from what I've
Say it.
seen, I think when a lot of weightlifters want to try CrossFit or do CrossFit, it makes them want to do more weightlifting and stay weightlifting, if I'm being honest with
Sure
you.
does. Can confirm. That's where I'm
I mean,
at.
I think there's a lot of benefit to just being like being able to lift maybe back to back, right? I think one advantage that a lot of CrossFitters have that maybe convert to weightlifting is that they can hit a lift, back to back or consecutively, or maybe under a little bit more fatigue. Or maybe if, when you're in the warm up hall and something changes last minute and, oh crap, you're up, you can't rest for 5-8 minutes, whatever it might be. They might have a different success rate compared to somebody who maybe isn't used to that. I think for the people that do more weightlifting and want to hop into maybe a CrossFit class or want to do more CrossFit, I typically guide them towards like workouts that might have a lower impact. Like I think for weightlifters, like any sort of kipping movement isn't super necessary, right? You can do like a strict pull-up or just anything more strict and still get a pretty good cardio workout or cardio element out of that. So from a training methodology, from the CrossFit standpoint, there are some movements that I'd kind of say are off limits if your goal is weightlifting 100%.
Do you have, you've got weightlifters, you've got CrossFitters, do you have people who are trying to do both, like, I say seriously, but whatever that means for them, like that they're trying to do both at a high level?
Yeah. So I have one athlete where they want to qualify for AO finals and do some of these like bigger competitions throughout the year. And so I'm super,
I know who that is.
That is. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Carly.
Hi, Carly. And so that is really, really exciting for me, to be honest. I think, especially as the sport of CrossFit the sport of competitive CrossFit has been changing a lot, but USA weightlifting has been like very, very structured and very standardized. I think the interest in both make a lot of sense to me.
Have you, for that athlete or athletes, however many you've got that are in that category, have you found that, like, is it harder to, like, which goal is the easier to attain? And I say that using easier as for lack of a better word. Like, I understand neither one is easy, but like if you had to, like in the same season, we want to qualify you for the CrossFit Games and AO finals or whatever your equivalent like competitions are, like which do you find is the harder to, I guess, transition from? Like you get them into CrossFit shape and then we got to transition into weightlifting shape or vice versa.
This is a can of controversial worms, Stephen. I think
We love controversy.
Yeah, right. I think from the conversion side, I don't know. I feel like the conditioning and maybe competitive CrossFit shape, that is more painful to get back into. But I think the weightlifting strength in terms of maybe building into a progression, I think that's more straightforward to build into. From the competitive side, again, I think the competitive CrossFit side of things has been changing a lot in terms of the standards and the requirements have been just in flux, honestly, over the last 5-10 years. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole I could go down. But I think the beauty of weightlifting is that it is black and white. Like if you hit this total in competition, you will qualify for XYZ. If you don't hit this total, you will not qualify, right? So like there are like standardized like metrics and data points to track year over year, right? I'm not sure how familiar, are you guys familiar with the CrossFit Open?
Semi.
I know what it is.
I know that to qualify it, like that you have to go through the regional, like you have to place a certain place in your region, and that's how you get to the games. And it didn't used to be like that, which like I remember when they changed that, like that kind of sucked for one region that had like literally 30 different like elite CrossFit women where they're like, well, what's going to be the games without such and such? And yeah, anyway.
Yeah. And so that's been, to your point, it's just been changing so much, right? Like even I'm having a hard time, keeping track of everything. And I've been in the CrossFit space for over 10 years, which is pretty crazy.
Right.
But from a like qualification standpoint, the CrossFit Open is essentially the kind of entry level, community level worldwide event that everybody can do. But in my opinion, it is a little bit difficult to track your progress over time because not only are the events or the workouts changing each year, I mean, obviously they're different, but the style is very different. That's like saying, Abby, this year we're going to see how fast you can run a mile. Next year, we're going to see how fast you can sprint I don't know, 100 yards. Only having those 2 data points, like, can you really tell if you've become more fit overall? It's like, not really.
Right.
Like, it's apples, oranges to pears year over year. So weightlifting, I think, is like it's becoming more standardized, and I know they've had a lot of changes, which are great changes, which I love to see, and that the transparency and the communication is just, I feel like that's been improving too. I mean,
What
I'm
are
sure
some
you
of your
two
favorite changes? I'm curious. You say great changes, and which ones specifically?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really embarrassing
That's
if I'm
okay.
butchering this, but I saw some like recent updates this year about how they're providing more, I guess, benefits, not necessarily sponsoring athletes, but like travel compensation, stipends in that form. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong,
No,
but
that's right. Yeah.
No,
so
you're right.
that is amazing because that is a great incentive for people to push it to the next level.
Yeah.
And I think having that maybe company support or sponsorship is a little bit more difficult in the CrossFit realm.
Is that just because CrossFit is it is, especially now, much more decentralized than it used to be, and just more vast, I would imagine. Like it's got that. I think it would be harder to, especially with the approximately a gajillion things that people have to be good at all times. Like it would be tough to say like this is the stable of folks that we're gonna like develop and foster and in the way that the weightlifting that USAW is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious. Again, I'm fascinated by the programming element here, so I keep coming back to that. If we want to move on, that's fine too. I'm just geeking out. But in what ways do you feel like your consistent programming with CrossFit has influenced how you program with weightlifters, and vice versa? Like, in what ways do you feel like your consistent programming with weightlifters has influenced how you program for CrossFitters?
Yeah, I think the impact is a little bit stronger going from weightlifting to CrossFit, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Okay.
Like I program for our affiliate, and we have like set strength cycles throughout the year. And the percentage based approach, in my opinion, is pretty unconventional for a lot of CrossFit gyms. I think the volume in which we do a lot of maybe higher impact movements, specifically kipping, might be a little bit different compared to other gyms as well. Like if you were to compare maybe what main side or the CrossFit main side or things that are programmed by CrossFit headquarters on their website, I think their styles might be a little bit different than what we do personally. It depends on the demographic, honestly, but from what I've seen, that tends to work really well for our community. I think flipping it the other way around, sometimes like I'll use like interval work for weightlifters. Honestly, it's a great problem to have, but at my gym, like in my gym in general, right? We have a open gym area, which is where a lot of our weightlifters train. And then we have a general class area. It can be easy to get distracted. And let's just say your goal is to rest 3 to 5 minutes between sets. You blink and then you've rested 20 minutes and you're cold. So sometimes I use intervals just to keep people on track. And I know some programs use EMOMs from the weightlifting side of things. It might not necessarily be a very long one, but I know some lifters really enjoy doing that as well.
It's me on some lifters.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying that was derived from CrossFit, but that's something that carried over. Yeah.
Well, it's really good from a conditioning perspective. Like I feel at my fittest when like I do like doubles and triples on the minute, and like and even singles. Like I feel at my strongest when like I am confident in my ability because I've been practicing, this little bit of rest. Specifically with the clean and jerk, because as somebody who really struggles with that, like I think there's a lot of carryover with that for me.
3 in a minute. That's CrossFit, Abby, at that point. 3 reps in a minute. Holy crap.
I went through a whole 4-week cycle of that, my guy.
That's awesome.
I was complaining at the ladder lifting challenge because I had to do one clean and jerk every minute. And by do, I mean attempt. So doing 3 seems more than excessive.
It was
Abby, are you gonna be doing like CrossFit-ish type stuff as you rehab?
That is what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Actually, like yesterday my workout was I've unlocked a couple new skills actually. First is I know how to do calories on an assault bike now. That was very new to me.
You had to turn on the
Hold on.
monitor, Abby.
Is the new skill that you know how to push the button to change the way that the system is
I
tracking
can
what you're
count to
doing?
7 now.
Okay, cool.
Anyway,
What
so
other
like
new
the
skills
workout
do
I
you
did
have?
yesterday was 7 calories on the assault bike, 50-foot sled pull, which was heavy. I didn't put the weights on myself. 7 calories, then like a hack squat, where you're standing on the boxes and you've got a weight. Yeah, that's the other new skill. And then 7 more calories, and then side lunges. So like I'm walking in between this stuff, but it does feel like CrossFit to me. And so that is my Abby CrossFit. And it keeps me somewhat at bay while I can't barbell.
Okay.
I actually have a question for you two, right? And so one big reason why I like CrossFit or conditioning style training, right, is that it can be a really, really good break from weightlifting, right? So if we come out of a big competition, I might say, hey, like let's do class for a little bit, or let's hop into these recommended workouts, but I don't want you to do a snatch. I don't want you to think about snatching for a week, right? So I guess whether it's burnout, potential burnout, or maybe coming off of a big competition, like, is there anything that you two like to do or program to help people like, get their mind and body out of the kind of weightlifting rut, if you will?
Abby?
I was gonna say you go ahead.
Oh, okay. For me, when ages ago, when I was attempting to be a competitive weightlifter, I would always, after at least once, if not twice a year, it was often ended up being twice a year. Once the 2 weeks after AO finals, and 2 weeks at some point like midsummer. I would just take 2 weeks, and exactly what you're saying, Kevin. I would just pop into CrossFit classes, and whatever was in the class that day is what I would do. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I wasn't like super geeked when the class included snatches and clean and jerks, because like I was like, I can do that. I'm not going to look like an idiot here. But whatever. I intentionally wasn't cherry picking workouts and like avoiding the longer metcons or whatever. Like you show up and whatever it is. And I think that's, to your point. It's a good physical break. It's a good mental break. It's a good way to maintain some amount of volume, but not nowhere near the snatch and clean and jerk and squatting volume that you would be doing if you were doing a traditional weightlifting program. As a programmer, I've never programmed CrossFit, myself. Like, so I wouldn't ever like say, hey, we're going to take 2 weeks and I'm going to come up with a bunch of CrossFit workouts for you. Like, I'm not qualified to do that. So like, if they want to do that, they can go find a CrossFit gym and pay someone else, Kevin perhaps, to do that. But what I do encourage is some other like style of movement. I encourage my folks to swim, like go find a pool and just, burn energy that way, or increase like sprints. I like doing sprints, like lots of plyometrics, just like something to, again, like something different for your brain and for your body, that still gives you some volume of work and some lower volume of like explosive something.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted Steve to go first is because like this is actually the first break I've taken from the movements in 5 years. And I don't like it. I'm actually really struggling without it. I really enjoy the movements. I do. And so typically like after a competition, my break is that the movements are really light. But I still want to do them, right? And like I go out on hikes and I do stuff, but like I really, really, really enjoy the movements, and I'm actually having a harder mental burnout from not doing it and seeing everyone else get to do it than like than I ever have when I've just been going. So I wouldn't encourage somebody not to take a break. Like I like where Steve's head's at, and I think everyone should take a break, from the movements to avoid that stuff if that's what you need. Like I know myself and I know I'm not going to be burnt out from just doing the movements like by, if I'm doing it really really light, like that's not going to hinder me. And it hinders me less even if it's with just an empty barbell. Like I would cut off my left arm if it meant that I got to like, go and do an empty barbell snatch tomorrow. And it's really, really, really tough for me not doing it, even if it's really, really, really light. Like just doing empty barbell work is fun to me. Like working on my technique with an empty bar with a PVC pipe, that's fun. I enjoy that a lot. And so I don't enjoy weeks where I don't get to do the movements.
Well, I think Steve, do you have to go, by the way? I know you said you had a hard stop at 5. Okay, I didn't know if that was serious or you're giving Abby crap earlier. But
I think it's serious, but he's giving us a few minutes.
Keep going. Finish your thought. We're good.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think to Abby's point, I mean that deload, whether it's more mental, more physical, I think that's just going to look different for everybody, right? I mean, I've personally had meets where maybe it didn't turn out the way I wanted them to be, and I'm just so frustrated where I don't even want to touch a barbell for a week. And I think for athletes, maybe in that situation, doing different styles of training, that's fantastic, right? But I've also had meets where I learned a lot and I want to attack like new goals right away, and so I might not necessarily do the classics or anything like that, but I might do lighter weights or more technique work. And it's still some form of break, which I think is really, really important.
And I think that's the challenge I found as an athlete and as someone who programs for others now. Like if you are peaked appropriately, your body feels the best after you've done the competition. And you're like, I don't need to take a break. I feel great. Like, cause like you're not beat down. You're not in that, like, the dark period of the programming where you're like, everything is miserable and like my body's like sore all the time and like whatever, like you're not there. You're in the period where you're like, your body actually feels pretty good. So you want to keep going. I think for me, it's less about the like physically, can you keep going? Sure. Maybe, I don't know. But I think it is healthy for the athlete to not become, and I say this, I used to fall into this category, so I'm not casting aspersions. Like this used to be me. Like I was dependent on the barbell for like, my physical satisfaction. Like I think it's helpful and healthy to help folks and to practice it ourselves, like to find different ways to find that. Abby mentioned going on hikes, which I think is awesome. Even if it's just like, take a week and like, I don't know, take a pottery class or a cooking class or like do something that's not athletic. Like all of your athletic abilities, your strength gains aren't going to disappear in 1 to 2 weeks. It'll be fine. And like, then you can get back into it. And hopefully, ideally, you'll have like that reinvigorated, like desire, like Abby said, to get back into it and to get that, that emotional and physical payoff of like feeling the barbell in your hands and moving with it and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I tell people this, and this applies to nutrition as well. But like you're not going to snatch 130 in 2 days, just like you're not going to lose all of your snatch gains in 2 days too. So
yeah,
but I think mentally it's challenging for sure.
Real quick before we go, Kevin, give us one. I'll give you two. I'll give you two. Kevin, give us 1 to 2 of your lifters who you think not enough people know about. They're up and coming. They're going to be making waves. They're going to be doing good things in the near future.
I would say Yulia. Shout out Yulia.
Shout out Yulia.
What is her full name? Give us her full name.
Yulia Contreras. Blanking on her middle name, and this is live, and I love that. She's overcome a lot of adversity over the last few years, and she shows up day in and day out. Shameless plug, but she's always there, always following programming, like always just listening and just so eager to improve. And I'm really, really excited for her to show off her hard work this year. And I think it's just going to be an awesome year for her once she hopefully kind of gets out of this minor knee tweak. Let's see. Second one. The second one's hard because I have a few others on the top of my mind. Honestly, I'm excited for everybody. We have some competitions on the books for this year. We have a few people who want to qualify for AO finals. AO Series 2, I'm supposed to have a baby a little bit before that, so I don't know if I'll be able to go. But AO finals, I'm hoping we'll be able to take a few people out there, which I'm excited for.
That's awesome. I have a question. One more question for Kevin. So you sometimes are known to abbreviate day in, day out, DIDO. Do you ever like speak it like that, or is it always day in, day out when you're talking about the club?
Just usually say DIDO. I've heard
DIDO?
other pronunciations of that.
Wasn't sure if it was going to be a hard I or if it was DIDO. All right, great.
Yeah, DIDO. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you, Steve, you asking me, like, shout out to lifters. That's like saying pick your favorite kids.
Yeah, and now the But the
Shout out
benefit
to
is
you.
now all of your other lifters know that they're not your favorite, and that's my gift to you for this coming week of training. You're
Wow.
welcome, Kevin. Thank you for
I
being
love
on
it.
the show.
I'm here for it.
No, in all seriousness, Kevin, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being on the show. Very excited to see you and your lifters at Cap City and AO2 and AO Finals. And also, you didn't ask, but Steve and Abby are really good names for babies. If you guys are in the market for ideas.
Yeah, maybe Steven has a middle name. How about that?
Okay, sure. Listen, I'll take it. Fine, whatever.
Oh no.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll be previewing Cap City. I think we'll be recapping a couple other things as well, but we will see you then.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye, Mom.